Title: AITA For telling my husband that I'll never invite his family again after he said I embarrassed him with my cooking. Title sounds horrible, but hear me out please. So, my 35F husband's 37M family recently moved to our town to live close to us and my brother-in-law who got married a few months ago. My in-laws like to gather twice a month for dinner, and they'd have me and my husband visit 3H Drive once a month. My mother-in-law wouldn't accept any excuses that I work and have kids to take care of. She always wants the family gathered at her house. Last week, while we were visiting their new house, my husband made me spend X money for a gift that he didn't help with. Also had me carry boxes to help them move stuff into their house while my brother-in-law's new wife sat on the couch and was served with coffee and sweets. He told them that he wanted to invite them over for dinner the next day, and he didn't even consult with me first, so I had to take the day off so I could prepare meals. I made the main dishes, appetizers, salad and pound cake. They arrived at 7 p.m. Mother-in-law, brother-in-law's wife didn't move a finger. They were busy criticizing my table setting and giving advice. I put dinner on the table and my mother-in-law started asking why I used X ingredient instead of X ingredient, saying that she would have liked it. Then said that the salad was not necessary because no one liked this type of salad. My husband just agreed with her, telling me why I didn't do it this way or that way. I was getting mad and lost my appetite. Mother-in-law said the pound cake was not complete and didn't look delicious. My husband told her that he wanted to get one from the bakery, but I didn't allow him. The cake stayed the same while they ate what brother-in-law's wife brought and flattered her. After they left, I told my husband that his mom was being rude and mean to me the whole time. That he should have stopped her instead of agreeing with her. He said that he didn't defend me because I was in the wrong and what I cooked was not so great, and that I embarrassed him in front of his family after having them try my cooking for the first time. I got mad at him and told him I will no longer invite his family for dinners, and he didn't like that since he told his mom that we will regularly invite them for dinner. Title: AITA For not letting X off the hook on CS so he can afford his new life. My ex-husband had a 4-year-long affair. I only came to learn about his affair because he got the other woman pregnant. We are now divorced, they are married and they have a 2-year-old together. X and I share an 11 and 12-year-old. As of last year I have primary custody because he and his wife and their child moved 4 hours away, which the courts considered too far to maintain 50-50 timeshare. The business X worked for collapsed due to COVID back in April, and X was out of work for several weeks. In that time he asked me to take him off the hook for child support, which meant no back pay for the weeks, and because I said no he brought me back to court. All the court did was readjust the amount he owed because of their lost income. X's wife has since got a job and he says they are still struggling because neither make good money. He asked me again to let him off the hook. He said their daughter is suffering because between keeping the roof over their head and paying CS there isn't much left to provide for her. I told him that is not my problem. My concern will always be our children. He claims if I can afford to provide for them without him for a period of time it is the right thing to do because his other daughter is their half-sister, and as such it is my role to make sure she is cared for too, or at least it should be if I am a good mother and a caring person. I told him the discussion was over and I want the CS for my children. AITA, since everyone is asking, I get less than $300 a month in CS from him. I make enough where I can cover things myself. Some months are a little more rough than others. But I am not a rich woman. I don't have a fancy house, car and lavish lifestyle. I am a single mother working hard to provide for my kids. I rarely spend any of the CS, I do everything in my power to put money into my kids' savings, but sometimes when the money comes, especially in winter, I need it for something. I did not make my children alone. I am not the only person responsible for providing for them. He hasn't seen them since last year and now wants to not provide for them. I pay medical expenses, school supplies, food, clothes, keeping a roof over their head. Title: AITA for choosing not to sew baby quilts or dresses or anything other than housewares for my family. I started sewing when I was around 18. When I got to college, there was this girl Allison in my dorm who brought her sewing machine, and I could hear her doing stuff through the wall. I got up the nerve to say hi to her, and I spent so many hours on her bed watching her sew while we watched TV and talked. She taught me some basics, and I eventually saved up to get my own machine. My family didn't really support this. They've always been kind of, who has the time for that, people. Anything that isn't sports or work is bad, because people should always be in the pursuit of more money, more cars, dating up, getting rock-hard abs, etc. The first year, I made everyone simple, but useful presents. Aprons, potholders, zipper pouches, etc. My dad is the only one who appreciated it. An apron meant for grilling. He still uses it. One sister said, "Oh, so you don't have a job?" When I moved in with Allison to some off-campus apartments, my family started going in on lecturing me about not bettering myself constantly. Mind you, I was in school to be a teacher. 7 years pass, Allie gets married, I sew her wedding dress. She's more of a sister than my actual sisters. This is the first time my family takes interest, because now I can be of use to them. Jen sees the dress and starts telling me what she wants for hers. Annie tells me what she wants for Flower Girls. I told them no. They didn't take it well. Now, there's talk of grandchildren, and everyone has started looking at me to step up and make family heirloom quilts for the babies, as well as all kinds of other things. They tell me, what's the point of sewing if you're not going to sew for your family? I told everyone, why should I sew anything for any of you, when you laughed at me and told me I was wasting my time? It didn't go over well, and my sisters have labeled me a bitter, hateful bitch who won't let go of the past. And that I am jealous that they are successful in their careers while I'm scraping glue off desks. I teach high school, so. No, a few friends have told me that my outburst was childish, and that I shouldn't punish the grandchildren for my family being shitty to me. In my mind, I'm not punishing anyone. Punishing them would be taking away something rather than just not going out of my way to spend a lot of time sewing for people who are ungrateful. Plus, and I hate to say this, just because they're related to me doesn't make them family. I compromised and said I would make everyone some potholders for Christmas. They told me to not bother coming if I'm not going to be a member of the family. Title: Update AITA for calling my mill by her last name instead of grandma. Original: Jake, and I appreciated all the support. Though Jake wants the D-mers to know that he's okay with me taking his balls because he loses everything anyway. This brought him a good chuckle before the serious talk. We both also want to be very clear that taking his name was never on the table, nor does he care. I also do want to say I know how great Jake is. Though since the post he's been demanding I thank the world's best husband anytime he does something for me. His humor is my favorite part of him. Because it's his mom, I let him decide how to handle it. We both did agree that our son would obviously know Mill as his grandma, but he wouldn't have a relationship with her unless she addressed the blatant favoritism. That conversation did not go well. She denied having favorites, lied about pretty much everything, then told me the compromise she was willing to make was that if she had to accept me for who I am, being that I kept that name, I'd have to accept her for who she is. I didn't respond before Jake ripped into her about how she didn't get to make demands. That she was critical of me, assumed things that he already told her weren't true. That this conversation was happening because we didn't accept who she was. He said if he ever heard her make another comment about the Miller last name, he'd take it. She started crying about losing her family and he hung up. One Sil, who is Mill's favorite child, sent me a nasty message including the line, "I wonder if your dead brother would happy you used him to break Mill's heart." I sent the screenshot to Mill and said, "Call off your dog or I'll take her to the pound." I have sent a screenshot of that to anyone who has tried to question me. If they tried to defend Mill or Sil, I blocked them. Word got around quickly about this and now Sil is all but cut out of Phil's side of the family. Even Phil has come down on her hard. Sil is desperately trying to apologize and fix this. She even allowed Jake to read everything Mill sent to her about my last name. I tried to read some of it but stopped. I don't want to be angry. I'm taking time to decide how to handle this. I am happy to be done with Mill. She never really bothered me. It does takes a lot to get to me. But I don't want her behavior and attitudes being normalized with my son. I wasn't prepared for motherhood to have such a strong effect. Jake did admit he gave son my last name for my dad. Years ago my dad asked if Jake was gonna propose to me. Jake said if my dad wanted to know he would give him a heads up but he wouldn't ask for his blessing or permission. In many more words, Dad said he never had any expectations of that. He didn't worry about gender roles though he was glad he would gain a son again. Jake didn't feel obligated. He just wanted to do that for my dad. Sincerely, thank you all. Edit. Hey everyone, I did not expect to wake up to the ant of messages I did. I appreciate them all. Jake takes both the compliments and the insults. As do I. I also want to clear up some questions. Yes, this is real but I'm not going to prove that. Mill took Phil's name. They are divorced. They have 2 daughters and 2 sons. Bill intends to have children and will pass on the Smith name. Sil has a daughter who has Sil's husband's name. Sil also took his name. The youngest Sil is the one who sent the text. I am not going to apologize for how I spoke to Mill after she encouraged her daughter to use my brother like that. There is text proof that Mill did this. Sil showed Jake. I have no intentions on seeking therapy or a relationship with either of them, and that's the most that can be asked of me in this upset of a state. When we have a second child, I always intended for them to get Jake's last name. Jake knows and is cool with it. Jake is willing to be called by my last name but I doubt he'll actually change it. Neither of us are willing to do paperwork out of spite either. Yes, I still cry remembering my dad cry about this.